Hello. Oops. I almost dropped everything. Hello, good night, everybody. Before I go work a little bit, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about this history of breastfeeding. I hear so often of moms who go to the pediatrician and they have the baby be weighed and they say, well, your baby's under, way under percentage-wise on the little chart that they have. Well, let me tell you guys a little bit more about how that chart came to be, okay? So, years and years and years ago, 70, 80 years ago, there was no such thing as formula. There was no such thing as bottles. So, as soon as a baby was born, the midwife used to have a long pinky fingernail and she would clip underneath the tongue as soon as the baby was born so they could breastfeed. Because back in the day, if a baby was not able to breastfeed, they would die. Or they would have a friend of the family or a family member nurse that baby. Anyways, so during World War II, when mothers in the United States had to all of a sudden work, before then, kids would stay home with their moms and they would nurse until they were 3 years old. And at 6 months, when they started eating food, moms would give their babies whatever they were eating. Nobody was putting food in a blender to give to a baby and spoon feed them, So what happened, what changed how our society views breastfeeding now has to do with World War II. So women didn't have a choice, they had to go to work. So what happens, all of a sudden they're not able to nurse their babies as long anymore. So what happens, Gerber came out and started formulating baby food. Well, baby food was meant for babies who are younger than 6 months old to help fill up babies whose moms were not able to breastfeed anymore or were not able to breastfeed as much as they wanted to. That's why the food is blended. That's why it's mush, okay? So what else happened? Gerber came out during World War II and to be able to feed those babies. So we all know that there's nothing proven over there that baby needs baby food. Babies do not need baby food after they're 6 months old. They're ready for solids, okay? So during World War II, all of these changes happened, and then, behaviorists came out and they started writing all these books and all these articles because now as a society, we have to make sure that these women don't feel guilty and horrible about not being able to nurse their babies anymore, right? So they came out with these articles stating that babies should not dictate when they should eat, when they should sleep. And that has changed a lot, the way the society deals with these things right now. Another thing, when formula came out, all of a sudden, moms are going to pediatricians to ask for a formula. It's called formula because it was a mathematical formula taken from cow's milk that would be good for babies. But for each baby was different. So a pediatrician was needed to give the formula, correct formula for that baby. All of a sudden, pediatricians are thrown into this mix of mother-baby that they were never in before, of how to feed your baby. You always ask your family or your midwife. Those are the people involved in how you fed your baby back in the day. All of a sudden now we're using pediatricians and we're asking pediatricians how to feed our babies. And I know pediatricians mean well. This is not meant to bash anybody, but they are not lactation specialists. They probably have, you pediatricians, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 weeks or less of breastfeeding information when it comes to school, their schooling. So, okay, back in the day, formula comes out, now we have to go to a pediatrician to ask them for a formula for our baby. And any prescription out there, what does it need? It needs a dosage, so how much you should be giving. Any prescription out there needs a time frame, how often you should give. So for any medication out there, we know that you're gonna go to the doctor and they're gonna say, take that twice a day for how many days or whatever, you know? And this much, take this much. So that's what formula is. They tell you, that's when they started saying, you know, give this every 3 hours for a baby. Should a breastfed baby eat every 3 hours? Heck no. You know, don't ever put your baby on a schedule that early. Let the baby feed when they show cues. So cues, not clocks. And pretty much a newborn baby, if they're awake, they're hungry, okay? Keep them on here, skin to skin, constantly. They're not only gonna nurse if they're hungry, they're gonna nurse if they're cold, if they're hot, if they just want mommy, if they're tired, if they're sleepy, if they don't feel good, if they have a bellyache, if they're teething. They're gonna nurse for so many reasons. So anyways, and then we have a growth chart. So the growth chart was made for formula babies to prove to moms that formula was working, right? So this medication we're giving your baby is working because look, they have this weight and then they have this weight. They're supposed to grow at this rate if they're taking this, right? We should not be using those charts for breastfed babies. So many mothers are pushed into giving their babies formula when there's no need for it. Their babies are healthy. Every baby? No, but a lot of babies. So many doctors and family members and you name make the mom feel guilty because their baby's on the small side. You know, one of the best things that has happened during this pandemic, I have an 8-month-old, about to be 8-month-old little boy. Last time I took him to the doctor, he was 2 months old. So we have another appointment coming up on Monday. But it has been the most amazing, peaceful time. You know, we're breastfeeding. I introduced all of this when he was about 6 months old. And it has been such an amazing experience not having anybody tell me how big he is or if he's growing enough or not, or putting any concerns in my mind when I know that he's healthy and he's growing like he's supposed to be. So I just wanted to come over here and talk to you guys a little bit more about the history of breastfeeding and formula, how everything started, what we're supposed to be doing, and mainly for moms not to feel guilty about the growth charts in the pediatrician's office. They're not meant for your breastfed baby. And if a pediatrician or anybody is recommending your baby to supplement with formula, please call an IBCLC. That's an international board certified lactation consultant. It's a specialist on feeding, baby feeding, okay? So even if you're bottle feeding your baby and your baby is not gaining weight, your baby's clicking whenever they're drinking from the bottle, call an IBCLC. They will be able to help you. And if they can't help you, they're gonna guide you in the correct direction, in the right direction. But those are the women who have extensive, and I don't know if there's any men that do IBCLC, but extensive training and courses. And you know, there's nothing wrong with asking a professional, a provider, their credentials. You know, where did you go to school? What kind of courses do you have? If you want to see somebody specifically for a tongue tie or a lip tie concern, ask them, how much training do you have on this? Because not everybody can diagnose a tongue tie. Not everybody knows how to tell if it's a tongue tie or not. They have to have a lot of experience and a lot of courses related to that only, you know? So don't be afraid to ask. This is your baby, this is your child. You are their best advocate. Don't be afraid to speak up and speak out, okay? Anyways, and one more time, I'm a myofunctional therapist. I don't treat babies, but I am extremely passionate about babies. I'm a huge breastfeeding advocate, and I study orofacial development. And the mechanism of breastfeeding helps develop orofacial structures. That is why I talk a lot and I encourage breastfeeding. Because if you can do it and if you choose to do it, it is the best thing for your baby. There's nothing else out there that replaces exactly the same way. All right, this is not meant to make anybody feel bad because they have given formula to their kids. Whatever, you're a mom, you gotta do what you gotta do, you know. But the importance is to educate pregnant women and educate our in-laws and grandparents and anybody that's gonna be around that child. We need to educate everybody around us when the baby's about to be here. Listen, I'm going to breastfeed. I want to breastfeed. It doesn't matter how long we're gonna do it. This is about me and the baby. And I don't wanna hear it, you know what I mean? There's research. If you want any research, I can give it to you, but show it to them and state it from the beginning, you know, listen, this is how it's gonna go. I'm the mother, you had your kids, you can make the decision for them, but I'm going to do it now, okay? This is my baby, my chance, my decisions, and it is the best for my baby. Here's the proof. If you have any issues, go talk to your kids, okay? This is my kid. Sometimes you just have to be blunt and you just have to tell them. My poor family listening to this. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. Share this with any breastfeeding moms or pregnant moms out there that are thinking about breastfeeding, that would like to get a little bit more information about it. If they're looking for an IBCLC, I have some amazing women that I can recommend. And if you have any questions, just let me know. All right, have a wonderful night. Thank you. Enjoy your Friday night.